What's up? I'm Matt, and this is Highly Recommended. I'm here with James of Tropidelic. Thanks for being with me today.
Happy to be here, brother.
So to start things off, we're here in Kansas City, and you just got cleaned up by AJ.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of your new cut?
Oh, like a dolphin, baby. Yeah. Down to the wood.
Now, did he get you any of the beard trimming? Or
Got me up nice. Told him to keep the stash, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, you look good, and I'm glad we got that taken care of to get you on camera. So I just want to start off by saying, how are things going on your tour? You guys have been on the road for a little while, so how are things going so far for you?
It's been great. Honestly, we're kind of like down to a system right now where we'll really only be on the road for like 2 to 3 weeks at a time, maybe like a month tops, like if we're hitting the West Coast. But so this is a little 2-week run. We're with Ballyhoo, Joey Harcum, and we did 4 shows last week. We had 2 days off. Now we're doing 4 shows this week, and then we send it home. So we got 2 left. We're here today, and then we'll be in Des Moines tomorrow.
And then going home after that?
Yep.
While you've been on this current run, did you guys have any road drama, anything that happened?
Road drama? No.
Has it been smooth sailing?
It's been smooth sailing. My birthday was on 4/20. We were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is a great town, killer show. The bar we played at too, also very nice, Big's Bar, but there's just nothing around it. So it was Easter Sunday, so we were just like sitting in the bus in this parking lot for like 12 hours. We loaded in early and we played late, and it was just like, I tried to go to the Dollar Tree just to like kill some time. There was a Harbor Freight that was closed. So I guess that's probably like the antithesis of drama.
Well, if that's all you got, then
yeah. No, it's been a great run. It's good to be out with Ballyhoo and Joey Harcum. Those are the homies. Been friends for a really long time.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's good to hear. I know I hear all sorts of horror stories about car wrecks or things that happen that, don't get you to where you need to be. So
we've had our fair share of those. You want to hear a crazy one?
Yeah, I do.
So this was October or November of last year.
Okay.
We were pulling into Houston, Texas for our last Texas show of the run. We've been on the road for like 3 weeks, and then we're doing Texas, and then we're doing Florida. So we're in Houston, last show before we headed over to Florida. The hurricane's coming in to hit Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So we're kind of in this like weird limbo. We don't know if the show's going to happen or we should cancel them or like what's really going on. So we stayed parked in this parking lot outside of the venue all night, and something was up with the bus. It was just like a routine like belt or something. It wasn't even broken. We were just going to get it switched out. And these roadside mechanics showed up. And they were like a little twacked out, but you want your roadside mechanic to be like a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's get this done, boys. Get on the road. And they worked on the thing for a couple hours. And then we were about to play the show. And they're about to send it. They're like, hey, we're taking these parts. We're going to go match them up, bring them back. We'll have you on the road by noon tomorrow. We're like, cool, we're staying in town. We're going to get to hang out. We went out with our friends, had a great time. Next morning, it's like 9 a.m., a little hungover, waking up. Everyone's kind of like stirring. Sitting there, nobody's there. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 11:30. We're like, all right, somebody call these guys. Calling, no answer. Then we start calling the guy who like dispatched them, whose like company it was. And he was just like, oh yeah, like, I'll talk to you soon. I'm in touch with them. He's just like spinning us. These guys just disappeared with like custom built parts of our engine that like I don't know anything about cars, but crucial pieces that were like made specifically for our rig throughout all the breakdowns and stuff. They just took off, yeah. And the guy was like lying to us, saying that he was talking to him. That he finally came clean to us and was just like, all right, yeah, I haven't heard that from him. I don't know what's going on. We ended up stuck there for like 4 days. The hurricane canceled the shows, and then it was going to be like a week or 2 weeks before they could even like get the new parts and finish the bus. We had to just rent a U-Haul and drive 20 hours from Houston to Cleveland straight with the trailer of all of our stuff.
That's wild, man. And it's funny that you brought that up because
it's been pretty smooth. This ride's been pretty smooth.
In comparison, your parts of your rig aren't being stolen.
Yeah.
My brother actually had tickets to see you guys down in Florida because he lived down there. And he was, because wasn't that with Palmer Squares, or who were you guys on tour with?
We were with the Supervillains, and I think maybe it was Palmer Squares.
Might have been. Yeah, he was real stoked to see you guys, and then he's like, the hurricane canceled it. And so he's like, I don't know when you guys will come back to Florida, but he's been eyeing that up. So
nice.
Yeah, that whole story tied into with my brother being down there, but
well, I hope he's all right.
Yeah, they're they deal with that hurricane stuff every year, you know. So
They're beast down there.
yeah. Also, you're from Cleveland, and most people that probably listen to Trop know where you guys are from. But tell me a little bit about, like, specifically where you're from. What's the best part of where you're at in Cleveland?
Sorry, I'm going to give a good answer.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound cliche and say the people, but I mean, I think people in Cleveland are like just battle tested, and like we go through it like 10 months out of the year. There's barely any sunshine. You go weeks at a time without it, and then the sun comes out. The city kind of just like comes alive. But also we got like the Cleveland Browns. Like, so I mean, it's like we love the Cleveland Browns, but like Cleveland like rebuilds and Cleveland rises like every time to the occasion. And the music scene, the local music scene is great. It's a big hip hop town. That's awesome. But there's tons of people in our city who are just making stuff happen. Whether it's like open mic scenes or comedy scenes popping right now. There's all kinds of stuff happening in Cleveland. Cavs are killing it. It's a great place to grow up. Yeah, still live there. It's wonderful.
So what was it like for you coming up as like a musician, and because you're mostly, I would say, you're a hip hop artist.
Sure. I guess it wasn't always that way. I like learned about ska music and like that kind of world in like early high school, and then me and my friends started a ska band, which used to open for Tropidelic.
Oh, okay.
And Trop was my favorite band, like hands down. But so until we had met them, we'd like been playing shows around town, and we always did really well because we just had a lot of friends, so we'd hustle a bunch of tickets. But there was only like metal and rap shows ever going on, so we played a lot of them. And then finally, like I was like my senior year of high school, someone was like, "Oh, you should check out this band Tropidelic." And I was like, sounds like we could maybe do something. So we started opening up for them. And I was the singer of that band. And we started opening for Trop. And then a bunch of my guys kind of went off to school, did different things. And Rhodes hit me up one day and was like, "Oh, did you play the trombone?" I said, "No." He's like, "Do you want to learn?" And I said, "Yeah." So he dropped me off a trombone in this bar parking lot somewhere in Cleveland. And I pretty much, with the help of our trumpet player at the time and YouTube, I figured out how to play the trombone. So, yeah, musically, I guess I started rapping like somewhere in like the middle school. I had friends who were making music, hip hop music. I was kind of rapping with them. And then I went like the punk ska route until I ended up back in Tropidelic when we were working on our EP that came out as Police State. And we were writing the song Police State. And it got to the part where I do my verse and we were like, "Oh, what should we do like in this part of the song?" And I was like, "Oh, like I rap kind of." And they're like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah." So then I wrote something and I was like, "All right, you rap now." So that was like when I kind of, that and meeting Toby Raps my freshman year of college. He wanted to make a song with me because he knew I kind of rap too. He literally, this like 15 years ago now, he literally slid a CD under my door and was like, "This is the song I have, you should be on it." And I listened to it and I was like, "Oh, you really rap."
Yeah.
And then I did not make that song with him. And then he taught me and like helped me like come into myself. And like we used to walk around our dorm rooms and just freestyle with guitars and we'd like ask for a topic and like different things. And we just come up with songs on the spot, which actually, if I may, we'd go down to like East 4th Street, which is like the poppin' district in Cleveland, by all the stadiums and stuff. And we'd ask for $1 and a topic. And if you gave us $1, our buddy Chris, who's Tropidelic's producer, Toby's producer also, would get some chords going, and then me and Toby would just freestyle about whatever he told us to. We got pretty good at it. And one day Ryan couldn't make it, so me and Chris went by ourselves, and we walked up onto the street. We didn't even play yet, and there's just this like group of people standing there, all wearing Travel Channel gear, and some guy in like a nice shirt holding a microphone. And he's like, "Oh," like we walked right up to him. We're just like, "Oh, like what are you guys doing?" Cameras come on. They hold the microphone out and they're like, "Hey, what's up? We take people on the trip of a lifetime. Like, why should we take you guys?" And we were just like, "Oh," like we started going off. I don't know. We charmed the shit out of them, I guess. And they asked us to make up a song. So then I was like, "All right, well, what do you want me to make up a song about?" And he was just like, "Well, I work for the Travel Channel. I take people on the adventure of a lifetime, and my name is Bert Kreischer." And I was like,
"Oh, shit.
Okay." And didn't know who he was. And I'm not going to say it was like the best freestyle of my life, but it was the most appropriate freestyle of my life. It was right down the middle, family friendly. They didn't have to beep it at all. And it worked because they took us to Vietnam for like 2.5 weeks. Me and my Krista Cola went and we just kicked to a Bert Kreischer in Vietnam. They loved the episode. They gave us the hour-long season finale.
Well, okay, so what was the show called?
Oh, it was called Trip Flip.
Trip flip?
Yeah. Bert Kreischer would just actually. So we were the only friends that they ever took. They would always take couples.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh yeah, we usually like wouldn't do this," and they just loved us and they took us.
Yeah, because there was this whole history of like what happened on the street there.
Yeah. I'm still
wild,
in Travel Channel commercials sometimes.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm surprised I never saw that. But
yeah, there'll be like us on like scooters in Vietnam with the Travelocity gnome on my back. We're like, yeah.
So were you going just by James on that, or was there like?
I was in Tropidelic, but me and me and Chris were just. Okay. We didn't have a name for like what we were doing. I
didn't know if you were on there like we are, like, and then
no. They were we were just two guys from Cleveland that they took. We were like 19 or 20 when that happened. We were definitely like we couldn't even drink or anything yet, which was exciting because then we got to Vietnam and we could drink.
Vietnam's just like whatever.
You can do whatever you want.
What was Vietnam like? I mean,
beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. We were in the northern part of the country for a long time, which. I don't want to like screw up my history, but they were colonized by the French for a long time. So it was pretty interesting to be in like an Asian town, but there was like tons of like French architecture all over the place. That was pretty beautiful. And then we took a 10-hour overnight train ride to the central part of the country. And then we stayed at this like farm stay there, which we ultimately ended up driving like 100 miles into the middle of nowhere and then into like a Vietnamese forest and like, we hiked 6 miles one way through the jungle, which was gnarly. I'm talking like walking through the water, getting leeches on us. And like we came upon this village. I'm sure they knew it was coming, but it was like literally only like 30 people in the village. Most of them were related. All the kids had never seen like Americans before. Yeah. They'd never seen a mustache. They were all like pointing at my face and laughing. And then, and then Chris had his guitar too. He was like holding them out and like he'd hold the chords and like let the kids strum the guitar and he'd change them. And like, some of these little kids were like crying. They'd like never seen a guitar before. It was
hearing
like
music like that.
Yeah, it was like really, really special. Cool. And then we ended up staying in camping overnight in the world's second largest cave. So that was like, it was like.
And this was all part of the episode?
It's all part of the episode. Yeah. It's called Trip Flip. Just Trip Flip Vietnam. I'm sure you can find. There's actually a video online that like has more views than like anything I've ever done. And it's just like me getting my ears picked by this like street guy who like shaves you and gives you haircuts and stuff. He had these like crazy long tools and he's like digging in my ears and pulled out like a horrific amount of wax. So it was like pretty embarrassing.
A lot of trust in that. I don't know if I want you to do you to.
Yeah.
Don't stick no needles or some of that shit in my ear. But.
Yeah. Okay. So just to build on that now. Yeah. I've never talked about this publicly before.
We got an exclusive.
I want to say it.
Okay.
So when we came back from that, we were thrilled. They let us like score a lot of the episode, all kinds of stuff. Bert Kreischer came to Cleveland the following year. He was on Rover's Morning Glory, which is our big like morning show everybody listens to on the way to work. He's talking, he had a show in town that night. He brought up that he had brought 2 guys from Cleveland on his show. And then he goes on to tell this story about how one of our dads wrote him a letter after the show because we had lost contact and hadn't talked in like years. And he wrote him a letter saying how thankful he was that he took his son on this like trip and that we had such a great time and how he never could have done it and how he doesn't talk to his kid anymore. But he was really grateful that he got to have this experience, and a big thank you to Bert. He's talked about that on Rover's Morning Glory. He's talked about that on Ari Shafir's podcast and Two Bears, One Cave, their other podcast.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it's just not true. Like it came out on the radio and people are texting me like, hey, like, is Chris's dad like not in his life? Because they all knew my dad was and super involved. Chris has we have very loving, supportive fathers. I don't know if he's confusing us or what's going on, but stop telling people that our dads abandoned us, Bert Kreischer, please.
We'll have to tag Bert.
There's no beef at all. I think it's hysterical. Like I said, I think it might be confusing us, but like, just wanted to clear the air on that once and for all.
Well, I wonder if it's like there was like, because sometimes, it's like a phony thing that somebody just wrote in and made that story up just to like.
So I thought about that too. And then the other day, my homie, the Big Slop, shout out the Big Slop, he was just like, or your dad's not your dad.
Yeah.
And my head like exploded. And like, I can't imagine that's the case, but like never considered that angle. And So, ultimately, it's been opening my eyes to a whole world of
well, I guess
new possibilities.
Everybody throw your theories at of what really is going on.
Yeah.
Because there's a mystery.
I'm going home and we're going to the hospital and we're taking blood tests.
Yeah, clearly something happened with Bert, though, for him to think that. So it was like, did he read a letter and confuse it? Or did somebody actually write that? And it was
I got to talk to the guy. I want to know.
I need a DNA test sample on that letter, fingerprint that letter, and see who wrote that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really hilarious to us over the years. Like, it's never been a sad, fucked up thing or anything. It's just really funny.
Well, and like Bert's so big at this point, like with his podcast and stuff, it's like a lot of people are hearing that story probably know you or know of you, or if they find out about you through that, hearing that, and then they're like, oh,
well, yeah. So that's like, during the filming of that, there's this like, they talk about it on Rogan a lot, how they called Bert when he was on like one of these trips and how they were trying to convince him to stop doing the show, which he did. I think we were the last, our season was the last one he ever did. And he called Bert on the podcast, and Bert was drunk as shit driving this motorcycle around, and he took the call, but then he needed to focus on the driving. And then, so he handed me the phone, and I talked to Joe Rogan for like a minute and a half while Bert got us squared away.
So is that eventually going to lead you to get on Joe Rogan's podcast?
I mean, hey, Joe stepping stones, baby.
Well, he brings musicians and stuff on there, so you never know.
Yeah.
It's not out of the question. Let's switch gears a little bit. That was a hard story to follow up on because that's badass. But I wanted to ask you about Everwild. So I went last year. That was the first time I'd been out there, and I know it started as Sunny Days, right? Or was it Freak Stop? Sorry, it was Freak Stop, right?
Yeah, it was Sunny Days is its own entity, which is awesome. It's at Nelson Ledges. It's a great festival. Do it every year. Everwild is kind of like our baby now. And it started off as Freak Stomp, which, even before that, it was just a backyard party at our homie Mosier's house. At a sick pool. And it was pretty much like invite only. Like it'd only be like 100 people. And it was just every year that weekend in August, we'd have this like big pool party and play for all our friends and stuff. And then we were playing so many festivals, things were kind of starting to go well for us. And then we made it Freak Stomp, which I think in its inaugural year had maybe 500 people. Like I'm talking 3, 4 maybe. And then after a couple of years of that, we kind of wanted to just broaden our horizons and kind of take it to new levels. And so we changed the name ultimately to Everwild. And it's popping now. Last year was like our biggest year. It was amazing. We had Stick Figure last year, Revolution, Soja, The Movement. But this year we are insanely excited. We got Slightly Stupid, Damian Marley, Stephen Marley, a whole bunch more. We're headlining Thursday. We're playing Saturday. It's the first weekend of August at Legend Valley, which is like outside of Columbus, Ohio. But it's a whole vibe. It's I think because it started so small and so tight knit. I think when things grow, a lot of times that feeling can get lost, and I just don't think that's the case with Everwild. I think it still feels like a fun, like family kind of event. Like that vibe is like permeated throughout the years.
Well, you guys were making your presence known too. Like you guys were getting out in the go-kart, or not the go-kart, but the a golf cart, cruising around and saying what's up to people. Somebody even did a wedding there. Married there. And
Rob's mom married a couple there. Me and Rose were there. We didn't know what to do. We just found out it was happening, so we ran over there. About that month, we were Five Guys Burgers and Fries Artists of the Month. So they sent a bunch of burgers to the festival for all the artists. So we just showed up with 20 cheeseburgers in the middle of their wedding. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually know that couple. They're good people, but they...
No way. Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Well, through them following what I'm doing, they found out about Highly Recommended, and then we met up at the festival, and they, wanted to share their experience of having you guys bring them Five Guys and everything.
Yeah, which, nice.
I mean, that made their whole weekend.
Oh, well, that's what it's all about. It's we say that we host the festival, and we mean that. And if we're going to say that, we're going to do it. So I'm glad that people feel that way.
It's very communal vibes, and I really, personally for me, I like the camping festivals where you get to stay on site, versus somewhere where you go in for the day and you're out again.
Absolutely,
so there's just a different experience that you get at somewhere like Everwild, but at least as far as the Midwest goes, I don't think there's anybody doing anything even close to what you guys got going on with Everwild. So
thanks. Yeah, I mean, that was I think the vacuum that we noticed, and we're proud and honored to fill it, and super cool too. Just all these bands and stuff we go play with all over the place. Then you go home and we're telling all our people about them. Because Cleveland gets skipped a lot on like big tours and stuff, just because we have Columbus and Pittsburgh and Detroit. So it's like, you know, and especially like in our scene, it's not a historically reggae town.
No.
If you could imagine.
Right. Kansas City, not.
Yeah, so it's like been cool to kind of like bring that scene to like our home and show our people like, hey, this is like who we're hanging out with when we're not with you guys. And it's like got a really blossoming scene for that. And a lot of our friends now like go through Cleveland and stuff and do really well.
Well, that's huge because like the influence that you guys are bringing in terms of like the music scene there, it's being created exclusively by you guys, you know, by bringing everybody in there. So,
very kind.
mean, it's not as close as I would have liked for Kansas City, but we were willing to drive there. We got out there in a day, you know, we could do that. So, but yeah, if I'm thinking about music festivals, most of the time it's like, well, where do I got to fly to? Because there's nothing that I can drive to. So,
right.
I do appreciate that, but it's been insane to watch that, how quickly and massively stacked the lineups have become. So,
thank you.
All right, let's talk about your other projects outside of Tropidelic. You've got the Sandwich Boys. Tell me a little bit about that.
The Sammy Bees, baby.
The Sammy Bees, okay.
It's the party of a lifetime. Yeah, it's me, Toby Raps, Chris DeCola, and Loser Chris. And it was never like discussed or planned, but the way it kind of works out is Loser Chris flies to Cleveland from Charleston. We go to the studio with Chris. And whatever we make that day is like what our project is. And then we finish that over the course of like a couple weeks, couple months, and then we drop it. So we dropped our first album last July. It's called Hold the Mayo. And it might be the first time this is mentioned too, but we got a new one coming out this July called Holy Swiss.
Holy Swiss?
Holy Swiss, yeah. Okay. And it's just the trashy personas that we have. It's just like it's the worst part of me. Is my contribution to the Sandwich Boys. It's the hungover dirtbag version characters we've like created around.
So do you have a persona that has a name or an alter ego or something?
Not really. No? I started calling myself Lemony Slick with it for a while, but I don't think a lot of people got it. Do you understand? Did that make any sense to you? Lemony Slick with it.
I think it's is it like that Lemony Snicket thing? Or
Lemony Snicket, yeah. Because if you battle me, it'll sure to be a series of unfortunate events.
Oh,
I kind of blew that. Like I said, I left it alone.
Okay. We can edit that. You can re-say that if you want.
Yeah.
So do you freestyle battle people still? Or?
No. Never really did.
Never did.
Yeah, we always just would freestyle about just stuff. Like we'd give each other topics and just go up. Yeah, we're too nice. I don't know. I could fucking.
Yeah, because when you're battling somebody, you got to kind of tear them down a little bit.
Yeah. I'd be like trying to like dap them up. Like, hey, like that was.
yeah. I didn't mean it. It was just for show.
Yeah.
So what was the name Sandwich Boys? I mean, how did that become the name?
It happened at Everwild actually. It was Loser Chris and Chris DeCola, and I think they were just drunk and high and eating sandwiches. And it was like, we're like the Sandwich Boys. So then Chris came up to Cleveland to record like just a bunch of songs, the Chris's under that name. And then Toby was in the studio that day and he's like, I'm in the Sandwich Boys now. This is fun. Like I'm having a good time.
Okay.
And I was on the road and they're sending me videos and I was just like, can I be a Sandwich Boy? And they're like, yeah, totally. So me and Toby are each 24.9% and Chris are 25.1%.
Okay.
So
yeah. Yeah, I was trying to figure out.
Still fucks up the voting, but whatever.
Yeah, well, as long as you have democracy in there, it's all good.
But we got some crazy features on this new one.
Do you?
Yeah. So
are you leaking any of that? Or
I'm not going to say it now. I just don't know when this is coming out, but keep an eye out. But then I also do, I make my own rap songs just under my name, James Begin, which is my real name. And I have a project coming out early June called The Wild Wild West Side, which is just like 5 songs I made. So pretty excited about that.
Okay, and that's under the name James Begin?
James Begin, yep.
Yeah, because I know like at Everwild, for example, you got on stages, one of the shows was James Begin and Friends.
Yeah.
And so that was basically just bring a party of everybody that raps and everybody throws verses out there. And that was like, to me, that was like one of my highlights of the whole weekend because I love hip hop and I love the interaction of that. So when that happened, really I was like, this right here.
So Devin the dude had canceled last minute. He like missed a flight or something.
That's right. You guys
so then we were supposed to be at late night slot. So then we all got moved to the main stage. But actually our late night set was rained out. So we didn't even get to do it. So I brought a bunch of my friends down from Cleveland who were like super excited just to play the festival and stuff. And I felt so bad like telling them that like, hey, we're not going to get to do it. And they were still having a great time. So we only found out like an hour before. So then I was just like texting everybody, like trying to get service, walking around this like massive festival grounds. Right. Just like let's go, everybody backstage now. Like, let's set this up. So that was like, that's another example of Cleveland rising to the occasion.
Yeah, Yeah, I remember when that happened because we had heard, well, we were like, oh, Devin the Dude. And it wasn't until like right before that it got announced he wasn't going to be there, right?
Yeah.
And
Toby went out there on
like,
rollerblades in a jean dress and was like, hey, Devin the Dude's not coming.
Yeah. No, I specifically remember that, and the rollerblades and everything. But then people kind of dispersed because they're like, well, nothing's happening. And so like people didn't really know when you guys got on there and did that whole thing. So it was kind of like this. I was lucky to be down there because we were hanging around and you guys got on stage and I was like, well, I don't know what's going on over here, but this is the fucking shit right now. Like, get up in there. So yeah, that's cool. You guys should keep doing that. That should continue to be.
Yeah, we are. I'm doing another one. I think it is actually a late night set this time, which is totally more the vibe. I think it'll be fun.
It is because it's more intimate. You get everybody kind of circle around and it gets like this little cipher going. But hell yeah, man. I think I got maybe one more question for you, and then we can wrap it up. Well, I guess the last question I have for you really is there anything for the fans that you want to share? It could be upcoming projects or just something you want to say to the people that have been following and supporting you.
Well, yeah. I mean, first and foremost, Everwild. We're working on new music too. We're dropping some new music real soon here. I don't know if we want to talk about that yet either. Yeah, I guess to the fans, just a big thank you. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. You know what I mean? This is what I always wanted to do, and I've never, ever thought that this would go this far. That somebody would want to set up lights to interview me one day, or that like. Dude,
I'm looking at you like the other way
it's
around.
about to sell out, and it's just like anybody who listened to this, even cared what I had to say. Like, wow, like, thank you, and just like if you think you can do it, go do it, and stick with your friends, and do what's fun. If it's not fun, stop doing it.
Yeah, I feel that, man. It's what you just said. I kind of feel the same way of like getting started with doing like these interviews and stuff. It's been just like to work with people that are like on the same path, but to find out that you guys kind of feel the same way. It's like, you come from a humble starting point. You're like, but then you got to this level. And now, like for me, I'm like, it's a privilege for me to be able to interview you. So I'm glad that you feel like it's.
Yeah, my team.
So this has been fun, man. It's good getting to know you.
This is awesome. You're doing a cool thing here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't do the whole haircut portion.
Well, we understand because like you guys coming in, you have to do sound check and get everything in. So we just try to make it work however it worked out. But if you guys do come back and you want to get in the barbershop, it's a small space, but we can kind of if that happened to work out for you next time, we could always have you in the barbershop and film that and do that. But,
looking forward to it, brother.
Yeah. Hopefully I can get out to Everwild, but we'll see. There's a lot of things going on this year that may impact that. But one way or another, we'll see you again. So appreciate having you on here.
Appreciate you.
This is Highly Recommended with James Begin.
Signing off.
Peace.